Hello, Internet congregate. If you're coming back, welcome. If you're new, sit back, relax, and grab some snacks, 'cause we bout to chat. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said, I'll do it when I feel motivated? Maybe you wanted to hit the gym, start a side hustle, or finally finish that project. You were waiting for the spark, the drive, the motivation. And then what happened? A few days passed, the motivation died, and nothing got done. Why? Because motivation is shifting sand. If you rely on motivation to reach your goals, you'll never get anywhere. The people who actually win in life, they don't depend on motivation, they depend on discipline. Look, motivation feels amazing when it's there. You watch a hype video, you hear a powerful quote, or get inspired by somebody else's success story, and suddenly you're ready to conquer the world. But the problem is, motivation is temporary. One bad day, motivation gone. One setback, motivation gone. One moment of doubt, motivation gone. Motivation is like heroin. It hits hard, feels good, but it doesn't last. And the moment it wears off, you're left with nothing but a chunky bill for 10 milli vanillis of naloxone and an ambulance ride. And here's where most people fail. They think they need to feel motivated to take action. They wait for the feeling to come back instead of pushing through without it. And that's why they stay stuck. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't need motivation. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. You don't feel like going to the gym? Go anyway. You don't feel like working on your side hustle? Grind anyway. You don't feel like being productive? Get up and do it anyway. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And once you've built it, you don't need motivation anymore. You've built a system where you show up regardless of how you feel. And that's where real success comes from. But let's talk about what happens when you build your life around motivation instead of discipline. It creates inconsistent results. If you only work when you feel motivated, you'll never get consistent progress. One week you're crushing it, and the next week you do nothing. And that inconsistency kills momentum. It keeps your mind weak. Motivation doesn't build resilience. Discipline does. If you only show up when it's easy, you're never going to develop the grit to push through hard times. Life's going to punch you in the mouth eventually, and if you don't have discipline, you're going to fold. Lastly, it brings stagnation. This is the worst part. People who rely on motivation rarely grow. They just stay in a cycle of starting and quitting, never actually making any real progress. And that's because they're waiting for something external to push them instead of building the internal drive to push themselves. And look, I've been there. I remember when I got my first job in IT. At first, I was hyped up. I was fascinated by the idea of a job in the tech industry, and I had all these goals. I was going to build my skills, I was going to climb the ladder, and I was going to make more money. For the first few months, I was unstoppable. But then the motivation died. I hit a rough patch at work. I got burned out instantly, and suddenly, I didn't feel like doing anything. And you know what I did? Nothing. I sat around, I called into work, and I made excuses. And I told myself, I'll get back into it when I feel motivated again. Months went by without me going into work. Progress unequivocally stopped. I quit growing as a person, and I slept for most of my days, and became extremely depressed. To top it all off, I eventually lost my job after dragging my excuses out over 6 months. That's when I finally realized motivation wasn't coming to save me. If I wanted to change my life, I had to build the habit of showing up whether I felt like it or not. So I started setting daily goals, sticking to a schedule, and forcing myself to take action no matter what. The next time I got a job in IT, I didn't need motivation anymore. Discipline took over. And now, my work ethic doesn't depend on how I feel. It's just who I am. Look at successful people in the world. They didn't get where they are today by waiting for motivation. They built discipline. I mean, look at Elon Musk. When he was growing Tesla and SpaceX, he slept in his office and worked over 100 hours a week just to make sure things got done. Look at Jocko Willink, the former Navy SEAL. He wakes up at 4:30 a.m. every single day to work out. No excuses. And of course, the late and great Kobe Bryant. He was known for his Mamba mentality, waking up before sunrise to train long hours before anybody else was even in the gym. None of these guys were relying on motivation. They built habits out of discipline. and that's what separated them from the rest. So how do you break the cycle and build discipline? Well, first you create a non-negotiable schedule. Set a time every day to do your work, whether it's going to the gym, working on a side hustle, or grinding at your job, and then treat it like brushing your teeth. You don't just skip brushing your teeth just because you don't feel like it, right? Same thing here. Just show up. Next, you have to lower your expectations of feeling motivated. Stop expecting to feel like it. You won't. Most days, you're going to feel tired, uninspired, and unmotivated. Do it anyway. Because the results don't care how you felt. It only cares if you showed up. And lastly, you've got to track your wins, not your feelings. Motivation chases results. If you focus on making progress, no matter how small that progress is, you'll eventually start to build momentum, and momentum builds discipline. So here's the bottom line. Motivation is a feeling, but discipline is a habit. If you keep waiting to feel like doing something, you're going to stay stuck. But if you build the habit of showing up day in and day out, you'll become unstoppable. So ask yourself, are you running on motivation or discipline? Because one leads to burnout and the other leads to greatness. If you haven't already, go check out my last video about why accountability is dying. Honestly, discipline is easier to build if you have somebody or a community holding you accountable, and if you struggle with one, you probably struggle with the other. Also, I've got a whole playlist of videos just like this, so if you enjoy discussions like this one, feel free to go binge that playlist. Now let me know your thoughts in the comments. What's something that you forced yourself to do even when you didn't feel like it? Answer that, and also let me know how I can improve the quality of these videos in the comments below. And if you've got any questions, whether it's life advice, personal stuff, or career struggles, shoot me an email at bigjohn.submissions@yahoo.com, and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.